Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining our Signworld public webinar today. My name is Jeannie Borum, and I am part of the corporate team here at Signworld, and I'll be moderating our session for us. Just a quick overview for those of you who have never watched a recorded session or participated in a live one in the past of what to expect for the next hour. First, we're going to have each of our owners who are our panelists today do a brief introduction and overview about themselves, their business, their background, and just some particular details that would be good for you to understand about them. And then once they're all done with their introductions, we turn the floor over to all of our attendees, our prospective owners that are looking at Signworld as a potential business. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to come off of mute. I'm going to say your name and ask you to come off mute, tell the group where you're from a physical location. And then if you can go ahead with one question for the panelists to answer. I do see we have, it looks like close to 10, maybe more participants logged in. So we do ask you to keep it to one question. More than likely, other participants might ask questions that you're thinking of. So hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. But I will call you by name and give you your opportunity to ask a question today. So with that said, let's first turn it over to our owners to introduce themselves. And I'm going to go with Roger Carroll, our oldest veteran owner on our call today. And I don't mean old as in age, Roger, just years in business.
Be careful there, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so the name of my business is Cowtown Graphics and Signs. You can see the sign there over the top of me. I'm located in Fort Worth, which is part of the DFW Metro in North Texas. Been in business since 2023. This is our 10th anniversary year. My current facility is 10,000 square feet. And this shot here is from 2021. I got 2 trucks and 7 people. And today we have 4 trucks and 20 people. My 2023 sales projection is 2.5 million, plus or minus a $250,000. My biggest customer or biggest project recently completed was a big furniture store out on the west side of town that did more neon than I could ever dream. But that was a big deal. I had a career in apparel sales for 25 years. That's it.
Do we have did you see your projection for this year? I'm sorry if you did and I failed to.
Actually, I did just a second ago. It's a 2.5 to 2.8.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Just making sure. Well, good job. You got all the details. Thank you so much, Roger. Appreciate it. All right. To our next newest owner, we're going to go with Steve Livingston out of Las Vegas. Steve, can you give your introduction, please?
Yeah, my name is Steve Livingston. We're Las Vegas Custom Signs out of Las Vegas, Nevada. We are currently about 2.5 years in. So we started January of 2021. We've got currently 3 employees and myself, and we've got about a 3,500 square foot facility. First year we did 248, second year we did 518, and this year we're going for between 7 and 750, really hoping to hit 750 in revenue. Prior to this, I owned a small transport trucking company. I was a self-employed truck driver between here and California, and I was looking for a model that would allow me to scale logically, and this was a good fit.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. And our newest owner, Jason.
Hi, my name is Jason Randall. I'm in City Beautiful Signs and Graphics here in Orlando, Florida. I've been in business now for 1 year. We opened our doors August 1st of 2022. I have 1.5 employees. Our facility is 2,500 square feet. Our projected sales for 2023 right now is between $300,000 and $350,000. Our biggest project to date has been a roofing company. We've been doing their fleet graphics. We've done $40,000 this year so far, and we've got a projection of another $20,000 before the end of the year. Background, I was in records management. I did file storage for 20 plus years, where we actually stored the hard copy files. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. Great introduction. Thank you, Jason. Sheree, can you confirm, do we have Jack on the panel today? I still see him logged in as Zoom, but I don't see him on video right now.
Just all he said was he's using his phone, but I think he can talk still.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wait for him to go off mute before we give him a chance to talk. Oh, there he is. Jack, do you want to go ahead with your introduction? I think you're on mute
I'm
now.
here. I apologize. I'm on a cell phone Zoom. My computer is not cooperating with me. I joined Signworld back in 1995 as a Signworld operation. We started in 1,100 square feet with one employee. Over 10 years, I grew to 5,000 square feet, staff of 11, doing 1.3 million in sales. That was back in the days when we didn't have a digital printer, when we used the yellow pages, not the internet, and we were more of a retail banner shop. So Signworld's really morphed a lot over that time. My largest customer was a regional developer for Subway with 200 locations. I did about 250,000 per year with that one contacted Subway, rebranding as they keep changing the logo. I then joined Signworld at the corporate office in kind of a partnership arrangement with Ken Kin, our founder. Finished buying him out in 2014. I'm now the president and owner of Signworld. When I answer questions today, if it goes to my experience running an operation, I'll speak from that perspective. If it goes to training and policy, I'll speak from that. Prior to Signworld, I ran a wholesale food distribution company.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack. All right, now the fun begins. We're going to turn the floor over to our participants to go ahead with a question for the panelists to answer. Again, I'm going to call you by name, so please wait for your name to be called for that question and keep it to just one question because we do have 13 participants dialed in. So we're going to need to try to go through these questions quickly if we can. So with that said, our first participant, Reggie, if I can ask you, you look like you're already unmuted. Tell the group where you're from and go ahead for a question today.
Sure, thanks. Just confirming you can hear me.
We sure can.
Okay, great. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, and Reggie Horn. I'm recent corporate person, so not a former business owner. So this is pretty brand new to me. Question I have is related to your growth profiles, and it's interesting to hear the sequential increase year over year. But how would you answer base business of repeat customers versus the acquisition of new customers? Just
Sure.
general percentages.
Yep, absolutely. It's something that all owners, work on a regular basis to build up that repeat business over time.
Thank you.
So let's go ahead and start with our newest owner, Jason. What % of your business is repeat customers today, just 1 year in?
Very, very few. I do have some though that keep coming back over and over again, but 90% of my business is all basically brand new, only because we're so young, and 85% of that comes from our website.
Okay, so most of your new leads are coming from your website. Very good.
Correct.
How about you, Steve? 3 years in?
Yeah, we're about 70-30, 70% new leads that are mostly coming in through our website and our pay-per-click and SEO. And then about 30% of our top line revenue right now would be repeat business that we've done business with them previous to this year.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Roger?
70% of my business is repeat and referral. And when I say that, well, my 70% of my business comes from people who I have done business with before, or directly from a referral from someone who has done business with me before to someone who has not. Some of my best fan club, of course, are prior customers.
Absolutely. Very good. Jack, any comments from you on that one?
I think that's pretty consistent what we see over most of the population. It's about 10% per year. A couple of years in, it's 20-30%. 4 or 5 years in, it's 40-50%. And then growing up to, as Roger said, 70, 80, even 90%.
Yeah, I think it also depends if you're still in a growth mode acquisition as an owner, if you reached a level that you're really comfortable with and not doing the marketing efforts like you used to. So that does change too. All right, very good. Let's go to our next participant, Andy Green. If you can take yourself off mute, tell the group where you're located and go ahead with the question.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Andy Green, located in Atlanta as well. Curious about the personnel, right? I think Jason, you said you had 1.5 people, which was you and your sign maker, I assume. How are you how are you hiring and going about finding that individual that really does the sign making for you?
Great question. Let's start out with Jason first. Jason, how'd you find your sign maker and how do you find the employment market today?
I actually got lucky. Pete used to work for a couple other Signworld owners, and he left there, but I had met him at that place when I was going through what you guys are going through right now, trying to figure this thing out. When I visited him, he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm no longer there, but I'm not looking for a job. If you need any help, I'm here to help you, and so on and so forth. And I had a conversation with him and said, well, why don't you come to work for me? And he said, okay. And I talked to Jack about it because, one of the big things about Signworld is you don't want to step on anybody else's toes. So I reached out to Jack to find out what he thought about it. And I talked to Roger, and Roger's first comment to me was he would be a great hire for you. So I had his blessing, and so that's how I ended up with Pete.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Steve, how about you?
So my first hire is still with me today, 2.5 years later. And he's an awesome guy. He has about 20 years of signs and graphics industry experience. And it was during COVID that we really fired up, and he had been laid off from his previous job of, I think, 8 or 9 years. And he was a great fit. He had operated GraphTech plotters. The HP 365 was the printer that he worked on in his previous job. So I found him via, it was Indeed. There we go. It was through a listing on Indeed. And then I interviewed him. I followed the prescribed method of interview. I took him and his wife out to dinner. I had Dan and Jack interview him, got some really valuable feedback there. So that's how we found our first guy, and he has been awesome. And I look forward to many more years with him.
Very good. How about you, Roger?
Steve, that's entirely possible because my first hire, Brandon Chilcutt, who I got off of Craigslist, if you want to date that a little bit, is still with me to this day, 10 years later. So I don't know if that's a testament to his endurance or my qualities as a boss. Who knows? But we do make a very good team, and we've been having a lot of fun for a long time now.
Yeah, and if I can just ask you, Roger, if you can expand on that slightly, because you are someone that really does focus on culture and, having a different environment for employees to work in than a traditional sign company. Maybe you can kind of explain that just a little bit for our guests.
What I tell somebody who comes in here and is thinking about, has responded to a job application, I say, basically, this shop, this business is a drama-free zone. Okay. And that everybody's got bills to pay. Everybody's got a car payment. Everybody's got a rent and a house payment and all that, and kids, and you want to be able to go to work where everybody's, got your back. Everybody's pulling for the same things, and you don't deal with, drama, so to speak. So I have this big list. I got 12 common sense rules for success. That's one of the things we do. Other things that we do are just simple recognition. Somebody gets an order. What we do is we have a bell that we ring. Everybody claps for them. I mean, the entire office. So this happens 2 or 3 times a day. Kind of disruptive, but it's okay. We have the outstanding employee of the quarter, which you get your own little trophy, and then you get on the perpetual plaque. And I've been doing that since 2019. I just keep adding things. We went bowling about 2 weeks ago because we'd hit our numbers 3 months in a row. And I just try to consciously think of things that would make it a fun. I want to make this place someplace that I would have liked to work at back when I was in the workforce. Someplace that was just fun, because the sign business in general is fun. The business itself, the invoicing, the quoting, all the rest of that should be fun as well. So, we just, it's interesting in that people don't get that. People who for whatever reason, have personality defects that interfere with their ability to get that self-select. So those people don't tend to last very long. They may last 90 days, maybe 6 months. But so what you wind up with is a whole lot of like-minded people. And it's just been working for me.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. All right, let's go to our next guest for a question. Anthony Cross, if I can ask you to take yourself off mute and tell the group where you're from and go ahead with the question.
Yeah, great. Thank you. My name's Anthony. I live in Seattle in Washington State. My question for the group is, what is one thing that you love about Signworld, and what's one thing that you wish you could change about Signworld?
Great question. All right, let's go to our middle of the road owner, Steve. 3 years in business. What do you love about us, and what do you wish we could do differently?
And this is, Anthony, just to clarify, this is specifically about Signworld, not about my business or the business, but Signworld themselves.
Yep, Signworld, the company, the parent company.
Oh man, that's a good question. So one thing I absolutely love, you would think that since this is a one and done type of payment thing, and it's not like a franchise where they're going to collect your money from you going forward for the rest of your life or the rest of your business, you would think that the attitude could easily be from Signworld that, hey, you know, we got your money, we got your business started, and now, you know, it's kind of on you. And you would think maybe year 2, 3, 4 that the community or that Dan and Jack's focus and Jeannie's focus would stray away from you. It was really encouraging to me to see that about 1.5 years in, after they already had all the money I'm ever going to give them, they brought Jeannie on board. And Jeannie has really brought a lot to the existing owners at all stages, whether it be 2 or 3 years in, 4 or 5 years in, and 10+ years in, at all gross revenue levels. So I think my favorite thing is that they really are not just there to collect your money, get you 6 months in, and then abandon you. Even as an existing owner years down the road, if I call or if I email, they're always quick with a response. They're still actively coming up with new programs to aid existing owners. I really do appreciate that about it. As far as my least favorite thing, oh man, that's a really good question. I don't know that I have a least favorite thing, and I mean that honestly. I wish I had a least favorite thing, but I don't. Honestly, the experience has been what I had hoped for and probably a little bit better. I'm gonna think on that, Anthony, and if something comes to mind that's legitimate, I'll tell you. I would tell you, but I've got nothing for you there.
Thank you, Steve. Jason, you're in the business. What's your thoughts?
Well, I have to agree with Steve all the way around. The cool thing about this going with Signworld is, you know, you get to start your own business. You own the business. You're not tied to anybody, but you get the support of the whole network to open your business. So you get to navigate that forest that you don't know, the potholes that are there or the landmines that are there, starting your own business on your own because somebody's already been down that road. And you get the owners that have been in the business for as long as they have are still as willing today to help somebody out that's like me or even newer with no problems. I mean, it's a wonderful organization, and I have to give Jack and the rest of the crew credit for forming that culture. You know, I don't have anything bad to say about it, to be honest with you.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Roger?
And Anthony, I've been answering these questions for 10 years now. So my answer hasn't changed much. The biggest thing that I love about this organization is the pay it forward culture of the owners themselves. The development and the maintenance of that culture is beautiful. And that's what I tell any new owners that call me. It's the pay it forward culture of the owners. Their willingness to answer questions and help you in any way, shape, or form is unbelievable. With regard to so anything I would change, again, I got nothing. You know, I've been here 10 years. You know, I got nothing I would change. So
Our number one complaint is not enough drink tickets during convention. Is that a
I forgot
valid-
about that. Yeah.
Okay. All right, we
Yeah,
gotta come
there
up
we
with
go.
something here. We can't go off.
I got to remember that for the next one. Okay. That's
That's
good.
right.
I like that.
Although last convention, I think it was unlimited, but we won't talk about that right now.
There's
All
a
right.
certain point at night that's true. But
Very good. Jack, any additional comments?
You know, our goal is to make it better than it was previously and constantly looking at it and tweaking it. What worked 5 years, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, last year doesn't work. Constantly trying to look at the program to see how we can evolve.
Thank you, Jack. All right, let's go to our next guest for a question. Jason, if you can take yourself off of mute, tell the group from and go ahead with the question.
All right, this is Jason Howe. I'm from Holland, Michigan. And I guess I'd like to know kind of how do you spend your time, what kind of activities, whether they're sales or operations or digital marketing or whatever. And I assume that probably changes from day one to, you know, somebody like Roger who's been there 10 years. So just to kind of get a picture for kind of how those activities started out and how they maybe have changed over time.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with Roger first. Roger, what do you spend your time doing now versus what you do back in the early days?
you know, in the early days, what you're trying to do is do as much business as humanly possible. Okay, and for me, in those early days, it was probably 50 or 60% of my business came from my networking efforts in the first 2 years, and then pay-per-click became very big. And that took on, you know, that shouldered a lot of the burden of the new business development. And there was a period of time, and that was in the beginning. Okay, and then in the middle years, it was, you know, working on my major customers, developing customer relationships, and then developing people who could work with me and do that as well. It's shocking to me here in the last year or two how little customer contact that I have anymore. And what I enjoy the most and what I get the most benefit out of is developing the personnel that work for me to do those things that I did, you know, 8-9 years ago. These people are far better with customers than I ever was. And the teaching and the coaching of those folks to get them to that level, that's the most enjoyment to me. Sometimes, and I don't want to say this too loud, but sometimes customers are just a pain in the ass. So, you know, so I enjoy the team building more than anything now. So yeah, it's changed quite a bit for me.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. Steve, how about you? 3 years in, what do you spend your days doing versus what did you do in that early year that you can kind of, you know, think about the beginning to where you are today?
So my first year, I spent probably way too much time building and installing signs. Anthony, back to your question, if I had to give a negative thing, I should have listened to Signworld sooner on some of the things they told me. One of the things they told me is owners don't build signs. And I can tell you my first year, I should have hired sooner and I should have hired people to do the sign building and I should have stuck with sales. I think we probably could have grossed more. But I like it. I really like the building of signs. I tell the guys all the time, I'd much rather do your job than mine. But honestly, today I find myself at my desk probably about half my day responding to emails and doing a little bit of project management and making sure that all the projects stay on schedule. And then I probably spend about half my day, 3 or 4 days out of the week, running around, measuring, doing surveys, rubbing shoulders with customers, and doing in-person meets to mute. There we go, back. And then the rest of it, I spend just doing management around the shop. I walk out, I look into projects, I make sure that there's nothing that the guys need from me in order to accomplish their jobs. And then I would say I spend probably about 10% of my time, and I need to up this and schedule it. I spend about 10% of my time managing the business and looking at logistics and growth and how to take our next steps. So I probably need to increase that time. I'm looking at hiring again right now so that I can get some of the project management off of my plate. But that's how I spend my days now. I will say one of the neatest things about this job is I don't know each week where I'm going to wind up. I could be down at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum. I could be at the airport looking at an airplane to put graphics on. I could be down at the Strip in a casino. I could be at a mom and pop's restaurant. It's really fun because every week I have no idea where I'm going to be.
Very good. Love that. Thanks, Steve. How about you, Jason? Still first year? What's it been like for you? What do you spend your time on?
Not sleeping. No, I get here early in the morning because I like that quiet time, so that I can try to work on the business and not in the business. And you know, to Steve's point, I'm fortunate to have a guy that's been in production for 20 plus years, and he threatened to put an arrow pointing towards my desk and away from the shop, because anytime I would go back there thinking it wasn't going fast enough, I would probably screw more things up and it would cost us money. And he's like, I've got it. And that's why you hired me. And so I had to learn to stay in my lane. That was the biggest thing. You know, to Steve's comment before, you know, I like to tell people it's like going to art class every day. We just don't know what project's coming in the door. You know, it's been a lot of fun. You get to see a lot of businesses. You get to celebrate other businesses. I think that's the biggest thing that I didn't know that I would be enjoying as much as I do. But, you know, you get those brand new business owners and, you know, they need a new sign, you know, and as a small business owner yourself, you can relate to them. And so you get this, you know, you become more of a club. Learning about these new businesses. And I think that's the biggest surprise.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Jack, anything to add?
You know, in the beginning, you're there to build relationships and long-term to nurture relationships. But as they talk about having to go out and sell, go back to Jason, go back to Steve. Were you guys salespeople, or do you consider this a sales role, or is it more of a consultation on a project?
Yeah, so as far as like sales tactics and being real creative and real precise with your words and really convincing the customer, I don't feel like that's it. I don't feel like I have to be, you know, Johnny on the spot and put on a show and really sell the customer. In all honesty, it is more consultation and just asking questions and helping the customer arrive at what they want and understanding their budget. I would say it's much more consultative than it is hardline sales, where you're really trying to convince the customer. And then honestly too, you would think that you would have to be somewhat, you know, sales and I got to be better than the next guy. The truth of the matter is I would venture to say that probably 60 to 65% of the orders that I take in, they're not shopping me. They're not getting more than one quote. You would be amazed at how many times I'm talking to someone and they're like, oh, I'm so glad you're here looking at my project. I've called 10 sign companies and you're the only one who was willing to come out and talk to me. And so you don't have to be magic with your words or have all the sales tactics. Honestly, if you can ask the questions and be understanding and personable with the customers and show up on time, that's about most of the fight right there.
Very good. Thank you for that. All right. In the background, Sheree's going to be starting some slideshows that we're going to rotate through. One of the slideshows is going to, you know, just talk about a lot of our owners in our community, where they're located, when they've been in business, some pictures. Some signs are of the projects that our owners are doing, both in-house production and outsource work. And then the last one is some unique projects, some Hall of Fame projects that are just uniquely different that we like to showcase and highlight, just to show how big this business really is, or this industry. Going to our next participant, Joe, if you can take yourself off of mute and go ahead with the question for the group today. Joe, are you unable to mute?
Oh, there I am.
There we go. There you go.
I hit it. Sorry about that. Name's Joe Mouse. I'm from Wilmington, Ohio, which is between Cincinnati and Columbus. And the question would be, what was the most difficult thing one needed to get through to get started?
Very good. All right. Well, let's start with Steve first. Steve, what would you say was your most difficult challenge in getting the business started?
I don't know if I'd say it was the most difficult, but the definite sticking point and probably the most important decision you make, more, in my opinion, maybe slightly more important than where your facility is and, you know, what your company name is. It's that first hire. I mean, really making a good choice and getting a first good hire has been a major step forward for us. So I would say that I won't call it, necessarily, oh, it was the hardest thing, because it wasn't the thing that consumed the most of my time, and it wasn't the biggest obstacle to overcome, but it was the biggest sticking point where it's like, oh man, I have to get this right. This has to be a good fit. And again, Signworld really came alongside of me with lots of insight, being able to talk to other owners. They actually personally interviewed my first hire before I hired him without me present, and gave me feedback. So I would say that was probably maybe not the hardest thing. Getting my contractor's license was probably the hardest thing, the most hoops I had to jump through. But I would say the biggest sticking point, the one that it's like, oh man, this is most important, is the hiring your first employee.
Very good. Thank you for that, Steve. Roger, how about you? Thinking back to the beginning.
I would go with figuring out, hiring the first hire is always was the primary focus, and then figuring out where to find the right networking partners for me. In that once I was able to figure out who to network with and where and so forth, at that point in time, before there was a lot of pay-per-click, then I was able to get the ball rolling. Once you get some projects in, it feels much better. If you're sitting there and you're hearing crickets, it's not any fun. So you got a lot of hustle. That's every day of the week there.
Yeah. And Roger, if you could just clarify, when you say networking partners, are you referring to like Chamber of Commerce and Rotary and BNI, or are you referring to internet marketing?
I'm talking about, in terms of networking, I'm talking about the major Chamber of Commerces, the minor chambers of commerce. So that there's always a Dallas, there's always Fort Worth, but then there's some smaller cities, and they're very active. So, and then there would be other professional organizations, neighborhood development organizations. So I got involved with a organization on the south side of Fort Worth that was renovating an entire older section of town that has now become like the next biggest thing. I mean, and I must have I've probably done 15 or 20 really nice illuminated signs down there, and it feels like home, because I know the shop owners. I can go down, I can talk to them, love my sign, blah 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 blah, and then with those folks, continue talking about me in the meetings when the newer owners come in. I got new businesses coming in, and those people now, well, who's the sign guy? Well, everybody gets their sign from Roger, and it made a big difference. So you get 2 or 3 of those things working for you, and in addition to the pay-per-click, and you got a decent business.
Very good. Thank you. Jason, what would you say is your biggest challenge that you overcome?
Drinking from the fire hose. Not knowing what a sign is. If you'd asked me a year and 4 months ago the difference between a channel letter sign and a monument sign, I couldn't tell you the difference. It's the education that you have to go through. And then, I like to tell people it's almost like you're going back to college. That this first year has been an absolute education on steroids. And, I basically paid tuition to the business so that I can, make the business grow. That's the biggest difficulty, is just not knowing what you don't know and trying to figure it out. They'd say fake it till you make it, which is absolutely true, because you have a huge network of people that you can fall back on. But at the same time, you still want to sound intelligent. So, it's a big learning curve, but it's a fast learning curve, and it's been fun.
Very good. Thank you, Jason. Jack, any comments from you?
There's a lot of different ways you can answer that. Some people talk about their biggest weakness. If they haven't hired before, it's the HR piece. If they haven't managed QuickBooks for a small business, it's understanding the finances. If they've spent their life in a cubicle, it's the customer interface. And that's why you join an organization, because everybody else comes with different strengths and different weaknesses, and it's a peer support of each other to learn through those things.
Absolutely. Very good. Thank you. Okay, if we can go to our next participant, Johannes, if you can take yourself off of mute, go ahead for a question today.
Hi there, my name is Johannes Wilczek and I currently live in San Francisco. My question would be around technology development for the industry. There's, as an outsider, I think there's constant innovation, expanding of capabilities. Do you feel a pressure to invest? And there, I also see a link to what is possible through online printing houses, and maybe you have a comment there.
Okay. All right, let's start with Roger, who's been in this business longer than all the others. How has it evolved over time, and what does that mean for you as far as your business and how to take advantage of that?
You know, I think the fun of this thing is combining a blend of machinery and people that produce a superior result that you can actually market then. So one thing that I would say is that the technology, and I'll give you a good example of this. I'm getting into a type of signage now that requires Braille, okay? So I need a rotary engraver. So I've gone out and bought the rotary engraver. And now I realize that, you know, I need to cut these things that I make. And so I buy a laser, okay? And in the meantime, the industry comes up with a high-speed, large bed, UV cured ink machine that everybody's going gaga about, which I too have to have one soon. I don't know when. I maybe get a baby one, you know, and then I'll get a big one later. I'm not sure. But do I feel the pressure? I don't feel the pressure, but I have enjoyed the benefit of not delaying the inevitable. So when I say that, I'm saying, you know, you have to sometimes get ahead of yourself. Many times I spend in advance on people and equipment, like the trucks and the machines and so forth. You know, a lot of people wait, I really can't afford that. I really can't afford it. They end up not doing anything for a long time. And then it takes longer. I started this business when I was 57. I don't have a ton of time. So I like to collapse that period as, you know, that time. And I've been in it 10 years now, and I'm not going anywhere. Don't get me wrong. But I wanted to get of size as quickly as possible. And the only way to do that was to invest in people and machines. So do I feel pressure to? No. Is it the right thing to do? Yeah.
And Roger, before you invested in people and machines, did you have another avenue to help support customer with particular needs that you couldn't do in-house?
Yeah, exactly what he was referring to there at the end. You know, you got these overnight print houses that'll ship, and you know, all you got to do is send them art files. So basically, all you got to do to get in the sign business is be able to sell signs and work with people. But because there's a lot of wholesaling going on out there, and I bought from wholesalers. I'm making my own channel letters now and have been for 2 years. But for the prior 8 years, I bought channel letters. And if I had known how profitable they were going to be to build, I wouldn't have waited that long. You know, I mean, I wouldn't have bought from wholesalers that long if I had realized that. And then finally, when I end up doing something, it works out for me. And I go, well, damn, should have done that earlier. And that's the way I look at people and machines now. You know, can I afford that guy? No, but he's really good. So let's get him in here and see if we can't add to the volume that we're doing and the fun that we're having. So
very good, thank you. Jason, how about you?
You know, the technology side of it, I don't know if there's anything that's really going to change this business in the sense that people still need signs. And you know, they're all custom made signs. You know, it's not like, you know, I'm amazed at how many people call me up and want to know if they can get a sign in 3 days. And it's like, no, you know, it's no, you know, we don't have letters just kind of hanging out. So because it is a custom business, you know, everything is different, and you know, it's just a lot of fun. And you know, to Roger's point, you know, they're not tools, these are toys. I mean, it's just cool to see, you know, all these different things that are back there that you can play with, you know. So you know, technology, I don't know if it's really going to change all that much in you know, in this business.
Very good. How about you, Steve? What's your thoughts?
So it seems to me that there's two schools of thought for Signworld approaches. One is the broker, everything that you don't make in-house, and the other is to as quick as you can, equipment and staff up to build everything in-house. And I'm not convinced at all that one is right or wrong, but I would say the beauty of the Signworld model is that you get to tailor this to yourself. So personally, I like the process of making and seeing the product. I really fancy having the equipment and buying the new toys and investing back into the company. I really like that. And so I don't know that it's a pressure, from my customers. Oh, you really need to have this latest, greatest printer, or you really need to have this capability. But it's a desire for me to have the in-house capability and just to see us make fun and cool stuff. Our guys all the time will just stop and we'll say, oh, we make cool stuff. We'll make this brilliant looking sign and we'll say, oh, we make cool stuff. And then to reiterate that, yeah, absolutely. So there's capabilities that we don't have. And there are lots of wholesale signage companies that have those capabilities. And honestly, it's a well-developed network. So there's a lot of things that you can get on very short timelines at very reasonable and marketable costs through the wholesalers. And I would say too, that it's not necessarily just a thing of preference. There's times where I'm like, man, I have orders that I just don't have staff to build. And so it's nice to have the flexibility to not say no to those orders, but just say, okay, we're going to take this and we could build this in-house, but I don't have time. So I'm going to outsource this and allow another partner to build it. So I definitely wouldn't say pressure to add equipment, more of a, you can do that as much as you want as it's fun. And then there's definitely outsource partners to help for things that you can't produce in-house.
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Jack, any comments from you?
If I'm hearing Johannes' question correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Johannes, you were more worried about, is there the online people that you just order things from that eliminate the need for us, the Vista print type stuff? And I really believe the customers we're looking for are looking for more the custom production, not the things that come from those type of people. Am I correct, Johannes?
That's kind of a side thought that it could be taken over by online printing houses, and much of the business in other countries, at least my perception is that it is. What I mean by pressure to invest, having to invest in technologies to just keep up, and then in the end, making just the net profit small.
Roger, or what do you want to respond to how he's asking a question?
I don't worry about the industry as I see it being absorbed that way, because unless we all lose our eyesight, we still have to be able to drive down the street and see our destination and be able to pull in the parking lot quick enough to get space. So I'm kind of, since I do a lot of electrical signs, this is something that it is very difficult to automate and or to deliver. You can't shoot the design for a set of illuminated channel letters through a wire to a manufacturer someplace else and have it remotely manufactured. This is a very hands-on product, and the installation will never be dominated by a national anybody, because you have to travel too far. I mean, I don't know. I don't worry about it. If I were in printed products and a lot of that kind of stuff, and if I was in something that could be imported easily, then I might worry about those portions of this business and stay away from them, which I do. I did everything in the beginning, but what I do now is I build big, beautiful, illuminated signs. And people love them, and they keep buying them, and I keep getting bigger, and I keep hiring more people. So, I just don't, it doesn't worry me.
Johannes, can I chime in just one more thing there? The base equipment package that Signworld offers you, a laminator, a printer, and a plotter, it's amazing how much stuff you can really build creatively with that equipment. And it's not like every single year a revolutionary new printer comes out. I mean, sure, they change them and they add a little bit. It's like your cell phone where they rebrand them and they change a little bit. But I really don't feel the pressure of, oh man, every year I got to replace my printer and I just can't cut a profit. It really is a capable base set of equipment that Signworld selects for you. And it's not rapidly getting outdated to where it's like, man, my printer's 3 years old and I'm 0% thinking about the next printer. It's still doing exactly what we need it to do. So I hope maybe that answers the question as well.
Yeah, great. Go ahead, Roger.
I just replaced my original HP 360 a year ago. I got 9 years out of the first one. I sold a lot of signs off of that first printer.
All right, very good. Well, I'm going to move on because we still have quite a few guests to give a chance for a question. Nazar, if you can take yourself off of mute and go ahead for your question today.
Yes, hi guys, how are you? I am Nasser Halte from Canada, Edmonton. So my question for you guys, what is the biggest challenging that you are facing or snag? Is it like marketing, sales, maybe as you just mentioned, upgrade the material, or maybe finding to hire the accurate people to do the business for you? I think this is what in my mind. If you can please help me to answer this question.
Perfect. So not the biggest challenge in your beginning of your business, but your biggest challenge today. So let's start with you, Jason.
Did I hear that correctly? It was asking about marketing and sales and that kind of stuff.
Just what part of your business is the biggest challenge?
Yes, let's say at the beginning, what was the first or the common issue that drag you crazy to run the business?
You know, I'm going to steal something because I don't think I've had an original thought since I opened this business, because I get to plagiarize everything out of Signworld. Don Conklin said the secret to this business is answer the phone, answer the phone, answer the phone. And you'd be surprised. You know, you call 10 sign companies, you know, you might get 1 or 2 that'll answer the phone, and the rest of them you'll leave a voicemail, and 1 or 2 might call you back. But I'm telling you, this whole thing, it sounds more complicated than it is, but I'm telling you, if you answer the phone, you've got the sale, you know, and you're not selling anything, they're buying.
Very good. How about you, Steve?
Biggest challenge, I'll tell you what I thought it would be when I started. I remember my first month, my sales goal was like $7,000. And I remember thinking to myself, how on God's green earth am I going to sell $7,000 worth of signs? And I really thought, I mean, looking at 250 and then my next goal was 350, I really thought that my biggest issue was going to be generating enough business and trying to leverage myself against the other sign companies in town. To be quite honest, there's plenty of business. That was what I thought would be my biggest challenge. What is actually my biggest challenge is making sure that I'm staffing up in the right areas at the right times with the right people. And I'm not saying that it's impossible to find good people. I've found good people. But man, I ride this cycle of the pipeline's a little weak, and then I find myself writing a whole bunch of proposals, and then all of a sudden we're deep in production. And because we're deep in production, I step away from writing proposals. And then the next thing I know, my pipeline kind of dries up. And so trying to hire at the right time and go, okay, it doesn't feel great right now because cash flow is a little slow, but I'm writing a lot of proposals. I'm going to hire right now. In fact, I'm doing it right now. I'm hiring. And then just making sure that you have enough people to get all of the work handled and have people in the right spots. I would say that that's my biggest challenge, is hiring at the right time and hiring the right folks for the right jobs.
Thank you, Steve. How about you, Roger?
Well, what makes this business easy is that concept of Don Conklin's. Another buddy of mine down in Austin, Texas, who's been in for a long time, Kevin Hull, once told me, he said, first in wins. And it's absolutely true. you're the guy that answers the phone, to Steve's point. And the other thing, I guess that you know, it's easy to get to business. One of the challenging things for me is as you grow, hiring. Okay, and this is not a problem that just the sign business faces, but all businesses. I mean, since especially here in the last 3 years, with this whole evolution of remote work and so forth. Are there good people out there? Absolutely. But it's far harder for me to hire. It takes me more hours in general to hire. If I need one person or two or whatever it happens to be, it probably takes double the hours that it did, say, 5 years ago. So HR is a challenge. And you have to just realize that, and then use every tool that you can find. Thank you so much for hiring a Career Plug. I like those guys. Yeah, that's the challenge. And then the good news is that you answer the phone and you call them back, and you're the first one there with the quote and the drawing. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get the job. There's no other business like that. So anyway, not that I know.
Very good. Thank you, Roger. Jack, any comments?
Just real quickly, you know, when you talk about getting customers and first in, and it's just any of the trades. Most companies are owned by former sign makers, not by business people. Just like most construction companies, et cetera, all the trades. They're doers, they're not planners. So showing up for the appointment is an anomaly. Getting the quote back on schedule is an anomaly. And delivering the project on time on schedule is an anomaly. So we've actually figured out a way to do that so that we become the anomaly.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. All right, let's go to our next participant. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Is it Siddhartha? You can come off from mute. Siddhartha, are you able to take yourself off of mute?
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Sid, the short form, and I'm from Houston, Texas. We manufacture ADA signs here in Houston. We started with our sign operation, typically banner or poster printing, gradually went into vehicle wrap, then into ADA signs. So we do everything here in Houston, but I don't have a sales team, so I'm not growing as fast as other sign companies supposed to grow. So I want to know 2 things. All my questions are already answered. So I had the same question and then you come. So most of the questions are answered. The one thing I would like to know definitely is how Signworld can help in digital marketing. While doing digital marketing for us, because there are several what do you call it, like your partners in Houston, and how you can protect my business from another company.
Okay, so that's a big question. So just a quick comment, really quick. Signworld does not do the sales and marketing for our owners. We're not a franchise. So unlike some of the other sign franchises, each of our owners does their own marketing of their own business. Many of them leverage partners that we bring to them as options, but they have the decision of who they want to work with. So just understanding that and setting the playing field correctly. Let's move on to Steve first. Steve, what would you say would be some of the keys to his question?
Yeah, so the digital marketing, I have no idea. I really have no idea how that magic sauce works. It's not my game. I really don't know it well. So what I did is I went with one of the Signworld partners. I'm currently with Jam with ClickText. I believe they had 2. It's Artie's group and Jam's group. ClickText, and is it Mark My Words is the other one, Jeannie?
City Scoop is the third.
City Scoop is the third one. So honestly, they take care of it. My marketing spend every year is about $30,000, so about $2,500 a month. About half of that is SEO, search engine optimization, where They take care of trying to make sure that my website stays relevant. They write content, blogs, that kind of stuff. And then the other half is pay-per-click. A lot of owners at my stage have dropped off the pay-per-click because their website through SEO and organic means has made it to the first page of Google. In Las Vegas, the sign companies that are on the first page of Google are doing $30 million a year. And so they've just dominated. So my way of staying on the first page of Google is continuing to invest in pay-per-click. And so I would say, if it's not something that you're passionate about doing yourself, the Signworld partners are more than competent. What's cool too is the two Signworld partners that they offer, they're not just good at SEO. They're good at SEO and pay-per-click for sign companies. They understand how to market a sign company. I had seen guys in my mastermind group start with local SEO companies and nearly within 6 months, 8 months, go with the Signworld partners because they understand how to market a sign company. So hopefully that's a help to you there.
Thank you.
Very good. How about you, Jason? Marketing the business. What would you say would be your suggestion there?
Again, I'd have to agree with Steve. I went with one of the preferred partners at that Signworld had. I'm actually using Artie over at Measure Marketing, and they handle not only the website, but they also handle all the social media as well. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram and Facebook, and they do all the blogs and everything else, so I don't have to worry about it. I spend about the same amount of money as Steve does a month, and I look at it as that's my salesperson for the year as far as the expense is concerned, but I don't have to deal with the payroll. I don't have to worry about them calling in sick. It's 24/7 out there. And so, that's what I would recommend.
Any additional comments from you, Roger?
Yeah, sometimes it changes over time as well. I think in the beginning that the partners do a tremendous job because it's much wider. In the beginning, you're doing a lot wider band of products, from printed products to fabricated products and so forth. At this point, I have such a narrow focus, especially on price. Okay. So I'm doing, higher end stuff. So I've over the years, I've got a digital marketing manager that's very specialized and directs us primarily to illuminated signage and so forth. So I think in the beginning, it's good to try everything because I didn't know what I was going to like, until I built enough of them. We still do printed products and I still do great interiors, but I love doing big, beautiful illuminated signs.
Big, beautiful. I love that. I think you said that a couple of times today. All right. Well, we're getting close on time. I want to ask our owners. We still have 3 participants that have not asked a question. Can you stay on just a few more minutes?
Sure.
Yes. All right. Very good. So thanks for hanging in with us. Let's go to our next guest. Mary Ann, if you can take yourself off of mute and go for a question today.
Hi, how are you guys? My name is Mary Ann. I always say in Richmond because no one knows where New Kent, Virginia is. But close to Richmond, Virginia. My main question is just kind of basic overview of when you first started. Did you have the 2,000 square foot? Did you buy the basic package? Like, how did you initially start? And just sharing that, like, is there something you would do different at this point? Like, man, I would have bought that piece of equipment first, or I would have, added this initially, knowing that initially you got to start small, and then you're going to ramp up very quickly and hit the ground running as quickly as you can, but like any viewpoint of what you would change from the time you started.
Okay, let's start with Jason. You're in business. Would you do anything different with your package or your space?
No, I'm in 2,500 square feet, which is what Signworld recommends. I've got full air conditioned space where I'm at. So I don't have the facility that I can bring vehicles inside to do the vehicle wraps. But at the same time, I've got 2,500 square feet of under air conditioned space. The package deal that Signworld sells you, you can do just about anything out there. You can do a lot of stuff. as Jack told me when I was first looking at this, when you're driving down the road, that's 2% of the signs that are out there. Everything else is basically inside. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with just the basic package.
Okay, very good. Steve, equipment, space, any changes you would have made from the initial recommendations?
Yeah, so I went with 34 and change for almost 3,500 square feet. Some of it was availability. This spot is literally 3 minutes from my house. And then, I also kind of thought through if I did a 5-year lease and if I needed more square footage at the time that I'm at right now, what it would cost me to move in year 3 and 4. And I kind of wanted to start in the facility that I could potentially be in through year 8 or 10. And so that is this spot. We've got 1,200 square foot of office space, and it's kind of open format. We've got a nice big open room. It's not a bunch of small offices. And then we've got like a 3,300 square foot warehouse. And our warehouse has a 12 by 12 door. I wish it was 12 by 14, but most stuff we can fit in there. And also our warehouse space is air conditioned, which is a benefit, when it's 115 here in the summers in Vegas. So facilities wise, we have 3,500 square foot, but there's no doubt in my mind that we have 1,000 square foot that we're not making the best use of, but we kind of have that for next year, the year after, where we're really going to be growing into that. The initial equipment package is great. It's reliable equipment. I think that's my favorite thing is it's just really good, reliable equipment that's going to run well for you and not give you issues in your first years. It's just good equipment, very capable. One thing that I've often thought, and I'll just throw this out there, they have you choose between the rollover table and the laminator, the roll-to-roll laminator. I love our rollover table, and my guys love our rollover table. If I had it to do again, I think I'd buy both. They really both have their strong suits when you're doing vehicle graphics and you got a whole roll to laminate. It gets a little tedious on the rollover table. I almost wish I would have just started with both. We're in the market for a used laminator now. They're easy enough to pick up on the used market. But honestly, the equipment package is good. I highly recommend the rollover table. Other than that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Steve. Roger?
What's the question again?
Initial equipment package and initial size space recommendation. Any changes you would have made starting over?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I just replaced the original printer. I started out in 2,500 square feet. Okay, and I had a 5-year lease on that. Then I doubled down to 5,000 and had another 3 years with the 5,000. So I was in year 8, and we moved in here in 2021. And I've got a 5-year on this, and this is 10,000. So 2,500 to 5,000 to 10,000. And we moved into the 10,000 in 21. So that was about year 8. So I think that's a sort of a normal trajectory. What I tried to do was buy a building along the way. That's the dream, right? Unfortunately, sometimes your timing's not good. And in the North Texas at the time, in that COVID era, and there were a number of other things. But I'm going to try again. As soon as I get to maybe get another year here under my belt, I'm going to be out in the market looking for that dream building, where I can retire. That'll never.
All right.
Okay.
Very good. Jack, any comments from you?
You can always add more equipment, but we want to be conservative with your budget and do that. And you can outsource the things until you're ready for that. We really believe starting space is 2,500 square feet.
Yep, keep the expenses low in the beginning for sure. All right, let's go to our next last two guests. Steve Williams, if you can take yourself off of mute and go ahead with the question.
Yes. Hey, my question is, it's a little subjective. As you started the business, formed the company, how much did you rely on a partner? Like could be a life partner, like a spouse, or it could be a child or a sibling, like a brother or sister. Relied on them both, to actually do work or contribute to the business, but also just the support during the startup and the first couple of years of scale up.
Leveraging your external resources. Jason, your wife now works in the business. That wasn't expected right away. Why don't you talk a little bit about her support?
She's the reason why I'm doing this. I'm one of those people that I would hem and haw. I would think this thing into the ground. She's the one that pointed out to me, I knew I wanted to do it. And she's like, you know, you can either do it today, you can mull it over and do it in 6 months, or you can do it in a year, but you know you're going to do it. So let's just go. She was the catalyst that pushed me, because like I said, I am not the entrepreneur type person. She is. And if it wouldn't have been for her, then I'd probably be still doing a call right now with you guys instead of actually being an owner on the campus. So, you know, again, she's the reason. So it's very important to have that person in your life to in my opinion, to have that you're back on that one.
Very good. Steve?
Yeah, so my wife loves me. She is very for the business. She's very encouraging about the business. She listens to me talk about the business, but she's had very, very little involvement in the actual operations of the business because she works full time and we have 2 kids and church and life, and just there's so much going on. Honestly, I would kill to have my wife in the business. It doesn't make any sense for us financially for her to walk away from her job of 15 years to do that at this point. But you know, it's definitely doable as a solo show. I would say, though, in all honesty, if it is a one person and a partner, of course, there's an absolute advantage there. I'm really good at the figuring out how to build signs, and I'm good at the sales piece. I'm bollocks at the HR and the the hiring and the making sure the IRS gets their money piece. All of that stuff my wife would crush. But you know, you learn to hire people that are good at those tasks for you and not to spend your time fumbling through those tasks, and you get those things done. Honestly, this can be done profitably by one person, or this can be done profitably by 2 people. I wouldn't let that be a detractor, but if you do have a spouse or a partner involved, it's a definite advantage.
Very good. Roger, your thoughts?
My wife Andrea is a huge supporter of Cowtown's, big fan. Did the payroll for many years, and here recently at our most recent bowling party was the chief cheerleader for the team. Everybody knows that she owns 51% of that, and I only own 49. So and they never let me forget it. So yeah, she's a huge supporter, and I report to her.
Yeah. And for those who don't have a spouse or someone, I'd say the community of the Signworld Owners is another, you know, great resource for you, whether you're part of your mastermind groups or it's the Monday sales classes or the Thursday ramp up classes. You're connecting with other owners often on a very consistent basis. So you're never alone in this business, whether you have someone at home that's helping you or someone through the community. I think that's one of the advantages too. So just a quick comment there. Jack, any other comments that you'd like to add before we go to our last guest?
You know, our population is 60% guys doing it by themselves, 9% females doing it by themselves, 30% husband and wives, 1% other partnerships. So it can work in a lot of different scenarios.
And Jack, I'm going to go back to our calculations and make sure those percentages are right, because I think we got a few more female owners in the last couple of years. Okay. So I'm just going to double check that.
Okay, good.
All right, very good. We got one more guest to ask a question. Stephen Wilkins, thanks for your patience. If you can go ahead with the question for our group today, that'd be great.
Sure, thank you. And I'm glad I can jump in because lots of people call Wilkins Williams. Well, I almost started speaking before Steve Williams, so glad I didn't. And Marianne and I are actually partners, so that was great to hear about the partnership. So we'll be tackling it together. I'm curious about projections. When you were first looking at all this, what kind of research or what did you do to build your pro forma or to actually build your budget, you know, looking out, you know, a year or whatever? How did you actually project what you're going to need?
Great question. Roger, or actually I'll start with you first, Jason. How'd you build out your pro forma and get those numbers?
Plagiarized it from Signworld. You know, they literally have this thing set up that you literally, if you follow their their lead. And, you know, and I drank the Kool-Aid. I said I was going to do everything that they said to do for the first 2 years. And then after that, then we'll figure out if we need to tweak anything. You know, they've got a pro forma that's basically out 3 years, and it's pretty much right on the numbers. You know, and so if you follow their playbook and, you know, don't stray from it and don't try to reinvent the wheel, you'll be successful.
Thank you, Jason. How about you, Roger?
Been a long, long time, but I remember doing that exact thing, same thing. I plagiarized somebody's pro forma, somebody out of Atlanta. I can't remember who it was, but it worked.
Okay, very good. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, identical. So Signworld has a spreadsheet that they send out, and I want to say it's been a little while now, but I want to say that they show you what the average figures are across the new startups for the last 3 years. And so that kind of takes market area out of it, just kind of shows you the average. And then they give you a blank copy of that spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet is built out by years for years 1, 2, and 3. On the left is columns for all of your expenses, material, fixed expenses and varying expenses. So your materials costs, your labor costs, your facilities costs, your phone bill costs, all of those kinds of things. And you fill that out. And then on page 1, you set your goals. You say, I want to do 250 the first year, 400 the second year, 500 the third year, whatever. And then that spreadsheet does the calculations for you, and it shows you what presumably your margins should be at different times. And then what I did for the first 2 years, and I strayed away from it when my computer died and I lost my existing spreadsheet. But what I did for the first 2 years is at the end of every month, I would go back in and I would look at what the calculated projection was, and I would fill in all my new numbers of what I actually did that month. And to be quite honest with you, about the time that spreadsheet said I was going to need extra hands, I needed extra hands. And my gross revenue figures actually trended ahead of what I planned. We planned for 400K last year, and we did 518. So we were a little ahead on revenue, but the spreadsheet, it's really a golden tool. It answers a lot of those questions for you and helps do a lot of those calculations. And I think the most brilliant piece of it all is they start you out with the last 3 years worth of averages of new Signworld startups, so that you don't have to go from scratch of what should I be selling. You have relevant current market data that's nationwide to base that on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steve. Jack, any additional comment? Oh, I don't think Jack's on. He must be off. All right. Well, we are 1/4 the hour. And first, a heartfelt thank you to Steve, Roger, and Jason for taking time out of your busy days to share your insights and your perspectives. We really appreciate you all doing that today. And to all of our guests that have joined us, thank you for your interest in learning more about Signworld. Hopefully you found this session helpful. And us at the corporate team look forward to those future conversations to continue to help you in your discovery journey to see if this is the right fit for you. So with that said, happy Wednesday to everybody. And thanks again for joining our time together today. Take care.